Good evening and welcome to the Monday, August 9th, 6 p.m. regular meeting of the Bell Garden Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920, please be advised that members of the Bell Garden Successor Agency may participate in today's meeting telephonically. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any agency members should have a conflict of interest, virtually, please leave the room by turning off video and muting yourself. You may still keep listening to the meeting. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Reynaldo Leal, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by myself.
Mayor, councilmen and women, it's always an honor to be with you, all of you and all other city employees. I'd like to share the word of God with all of you, and it's Psalms 145:18, and it reads as the following: The Lord is near to all who call upon him, to all who call on him in truth. Let us pray, bow our heads, remembering that as we pray, we come into the presence of God. Father, we just want to thank you this afternoon for all of our leaders, for our mayor, our chief, our councilmen and women, all our city employees. Father, as we come near you, your word says that you come near us too. So let us, Father, just wait upon you and let us trust upon you. Father, I give you this meeting. May you guide our leaders with your wisdom and your grace, Father. We ask this in the name of Jesus. And can we say amen?
Thank you very much, Pastor Reynaldo Leal. And now we are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone can please stand and face the flag, put your right hand over your heart and repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you. Agency Secretary, will you please call the roll of the successor agency?
Yes, Chair. Agency members Chavez,
Present.
Cortez,
Present.
Flores,
Present.
Vice Chair Polito,
Present.
and Chair Barcena.
Present. Thank you. We will now move to the first item on the agenda. Public participation is now open. Agency Secretary, are there any public speakers?
There are no public speakers, Mayor. Chair.
If there's no objection by the agency members, I will now close public participation, and we will now move to the consent calendar. Does any member of the agency wish to pull any items for separate discussion? May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to Cortez.
Second. Okay, it's a motion by Cortez, a second by Chavez, and I will take it to a roll call. Chavez?
Yes.
Thank you. Cortez?
Yes.
Thank you. Flores?
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Chair Pulido?
Yes.
And yes for myself, so motion carries and consent calendar is approved unanimously. We will now move to the public participation for non-agenda items. Public participation is now open. Agency Secretary, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers, Chair.
If there's no objection by the agency members, I will close public participation. Does any agency member wish to make a comment? If there's no objection by the successor agency, I will adjourn the successor agency meeting at 6:20 p.m. and call to the order of the City Council meeting. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, August 9, 2021, 6 p.m. regular meeting of the Bell Garden City Council. The meeting will now come to order. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920, please be advised that members of the Bell Garden City Council may participate in today's meeting telephonically. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any city council members should have a conflict of interest, virtually, please leave the room by turning off video and muting yourself. You may still keep listening to the meeting. City Clerk, will you please call the roll of the City Council?
Yes, Mayor. Council members Chavez,
Present.
Cortez,
Present.
Flores,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Polito,
Present.
and Mayor Barcena.
Present. Thank you. City Attorney, Legal Counsel, will you please give the closed session reports for the City Council and Successor Agency?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The City Council and Successor Agency met in closed session to discuss item number 1 on the City Council closed session agenda and items 1 and 2 on the Successor Agency closed session agenda. Direction was given and no final action was taken. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Now we have a presentation. However, we have a few comments by Councilmember Chavez in regards to the certificate of recognition for Vida Sana.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I would like to make a motion on this presentation to postpone it to the next time our council chamber is open to the public again. As we all know, Delta variant is spreading wide and far, and here in our city, we took the extra precaution of closing City Hall again. So with that said, I'd like to table this item until the next time we are open. I've already spoken with the organization, with the group themselves, and they are willing, they are going to cooperate.
Thank you for that. I'd like to ask legal, do we need to vote on that motion? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and just table it. We don't need to vote on it. Thank you for that. Now, City Manager, will you please announce public hearing item number 1?
Thank you, Mayor Barcena. This is a public hearing to establish a fee for passport photographs. The City of Bell Gardens is an authorized U.S. passport acceptance facility. So we currently provide passports, but we're not able to provide passport photographs. Residents and other users of the service are required to go to other places such as the post office, Walgreens, Walmart, et cetera. And we would like to provide those services so that we can issue the passport photographs here for convenience for the residents. It's going to be staff's recommendation to open a public hearing and receive testimony regarding establishing the fee and then to adopt the resolution. Our city clerk does have a presentation, PowerPoint to provide more information on this public hearing.
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. The item before you, as the City Manager stated, it's a public hearing to establish a fee for passport photographs. Next slide. Since 1998, the City of Bell Gardens has participated in the Passport Application Acceptance Program. City Clerk's Department has been designated as an authorized United States passport acceptance facility to assist American citizens to obtain their U.S. passports. City Clerk's Department accepts and executes passport applications on behalf of the U.S. Department of State. Next slide. Applicants applying for a U.S. passport must provide a passport photograph with their application when applying. Currently, applicants must obtain a passport photograph from an outside agency or entity prior to processing their applications with the City of Bell Gardens. In an effort to streamline the process, the City of Bell Gardens would like to provide passport photograph services on site. Next slide. Passport photographs must meet the requirements set by the U.S. Department of State. City of Bell Gardens passport acceptance agents have been trained to ensure photographs are taken to meet the requirements set by the state. Next slide. Local agencies and businesses are permitted to provide passport photograph services. Some of the area cities include the City of Artesia with a $10 fee, City of Buena Park, $12 fee, City of Compton, $15, City of Gardena, $10, City of Orange, $15, City of Rosemead, $15, City of San Gabriel, $13, Bell Gardens Post Office, $15, and Walgreens and CVS, $14.99 each. Next slide. So it is staff's recommendation to hold a public hearing, receive testimony, and for the establishment of a fee for passport photographs. And by doing that, we recommend to adopt the resolution number 2021-67, establishing a $15 fee for the issuance of passport photographs. That concludes my report. I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. At this time, I will open the public hearing and public comments. City Clerk, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item?
Nobody signed up, Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have any comments from the council? Actually, since we don't have any public comments, I will go ahead and close public comments at this moment. We will now move to council member comments. At this time, are there any comments before I close the public hearing? Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Moved Cortez.
Second.
Okay, motion by Cortez, second by Chavez. We'll go ahead and take it to, and by the way, this is a motion to approve resolution number 2021-67. I have a motion by Cortez and a second by Councilmember Chavez. So I will go ahead and take it to a vote. Chavez?
Yes.
Cortez?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes.
And yes for myself, so motion carries and resolution number 2021-67 is adopted. We will now move to the first item on the agenda. Public participation is now open for items listed on the agenda. City Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers, Mayor.
If there's no objection by the City Council, I will close public participation. City Manager, will you please give your report?
Thank you, Mayor Barcena. I'd just like to state for the council and for the stakeholders, this is the first of, over the last 4 or 5 council meetings, we've been open to the public. The cases of COVID over the last 2 to 3 weeks due to the Delta variant have continued to rise back to levels that we haven't seen in over 12 months prior to anybody being vaccinated. I think there were about 3,000 cases in LA County yesterday, 2,900 in some cases. And so this meeting was closed just out of an abundance of caution. And also in our confidence and our ability to get the information to the stakeholders through alternative means. Also, just one last thing, with school starting, I know there's a lot of trepidation among parents and caretakers regarding getting kids to school, supply availability and things of that nature. There's COVID shortages of shoes, everything out there. So I'd just like to acknowledge and thank the city staff, Senator Lena Gonzalez's office, Assemblymember Garcia's office, Sella, and also local dentists. There were 750 backpacks plus supplies and other items that were provided on Saturday, and an additional 125 for some people that didn't get supplies last weekend as well. So a successful event, I'm sure, eased the mind of some caretakers of children that are going back to school. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. All right, now we're moving on to the consent calendar. We have items 2 to 7. Does any member of the City Council wish to pull an item for separate discussion? If not, may I have a motion to approve items number 2 to 7 on the consent calendar?
So moved.
May I have a second? Okay, it's a motion by Chavez and a second by Flores. And I'll take it to a roll call. Chavez?
Yes.
Cortez?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Pulido?
Yes.
And yes for myself, so motion carries and consent calendar is approved. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 8?
Thanks again, Mayor Barcena. This next item, before I go into the details of it, is really a carry forward of an item that was approved by the council at the last meeting. At the last council meeting, staff brought an item to request the authority to put out bids for community gardens water repair work. The bid process plus the selection, contracting was probably going to take 60 to 90 days. We've since that time just determined that the temporary solutions that we have in place are, essentially killing the gardens and also causing, significant risk and harm to some degree potentially to residents that are utilizing the emergency water solution that we have. And so we're trying to expedite this process of what you essentially approved at the last meeting. And so we're looking to get authorization for emergency action to complete the repair project. We have to find that there's a need to complete the repair, and the work will be completed within the scope of the executed agreement with a contractor, and we need a 4/5 vote because it's an emergency repair. It is a public works project. So what we're looking to do is, if the council approves these recommendations, we'll utilize an existing contractor that's already doing work for us in that area to get this work done in the next several weeks. I'll turn it over to our Public Works Director to fill in the contractor and the timeline and a little more detail as to why we're seeking this on an emergency basis.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. As our city manager shared, this is an appropriation of funding that was approved at the last City Council meeting. And although the water line to the community garden had been deteriorating for years, the reason why it's such an emergency now that we need to take action and have a contractor that's already working with the city complete the work is because the bidding process would take too long. The emergency conditions now associated with the garden are that the temporary water supply that's being provided by staff through a water trailer is not enough water getting to, the over 60 families and seniors using the garden to plant their food supply harvest. So the plant material is dying. Plus the garden is, the water trailer is not mobile. It's set at one place and persons are carrying big heavy buckets of water to and from the garden site to the trailer. So it could potentially cause injury to persons, carrying, the heavy load back and forth. This, although the water line had been deteriorated and there had been low pressure coming from the hose bibs for years, but as of mid-July, so going on 3 weeks now, it had gone to the point that there was no more water coming out due to the tuberculation and other clogging of the water line that's galvanized and very old. So those are kind of the emergency situations that have brought us to this point where we're going to forego the public bidding process. And public contract codes has very specific procedures for which we are complying with and following their emergency contract process, which requires council to adopt a resolution, basically affirming the emergency conditions and why we can't wait any longer to conduct public bidding. Requires the 4/5 votes by council in support of the resolution, and the authorization of the city manager to execute the agreement with the contractor who is All American Asphalt. And it took, this last 7 to 10 days to get the scope of work, measurements, cost for materials to finally get their costs. So that's why we couldn't bring that up at the last council meeting. We had needed the time to have them give us a cost and a scope. So we're at that point now where if it gets approved this evening, the contractor could begin work this week, and the project could be done by the end of August. So at this point, we're asking City Council to adopt the resolution affirming the emergency condition and foregoing the public bidding process, and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreement with the contractor All American Asphalt. And as required by public contract code, we'll provide at the next City Council meeting an update for as long as the work is being completed, so that council can reaffirm the emergency condition exists to allow the contractor to continue working. So I expect that the next council meeting will be the last update if it gets completed by the end of August as planned.
I'd like to move to adopt resolution number 2021-70.
All right, does anyone have any comments or questions in regards to this item? Okay, can I have a second for the motion made by Flores?
Cortez, second.
Second by Cortez. We'll go ahead and take it to a roll call. And by the way, this is to follow staff recommendation, correct? 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, yes, it's to follow full staff recommendation 1 and 2 and to approve resolution number 2021 and
Mayor Barcelona,
yes,
if I may make a comment?
please, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm glad that this was being brought up again by our director and city manager. I've actually spoken with a couple of the gardeners. One happens to be my neighbor that lives in the same lot where I live. And they say that it's of urgent need, and I'm really glad that we're bringing this back. And I'm glad to hear, I was going to ask, but I'm glad that this already got clarified in regards to when this would be completed. By no means am I an expert, but I had said in a couple weeks, and I'm glad that by the end of this month, we'd have it ready. So again, I'm glad that this is being brought. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. And yes, you know, this is a small example of just how important anything that has to do with water. Luckily, this particular case only involves our community garden. However, we've been discussing other areas that involve water systems that are used regularly by our residents, 1/3 of our residents. So, yeah, thank you for taking care of it. I think it's a responsible thing to do, and I'm glad that the council supports this initiative. So, we're going to a roll call. Councilmember Chavez?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Cortez?
Yes.
Thank you, Flores? Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes.
And yes, for myself, so motion carries, and we are adopting resolution number 2021-7. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 9?
Thanks again, Mayor Barcena. So this item is the request to approve and to execute a grant agreement with California Natural Resources Agency for an urban greening grant. It's to replace and install approximately 515-gallon trees throughout the city of Bell Gardens to fill empty tree wells, remove any diseased or dead trees as well. It's also authorizing us to sign an agreement with the Conservation Corps to actually go and install all of these trees. Additionally, a third item that's implicitly related to the grant is there are 17 36-inch box trees that we're recommending that we use our own city general funds to replace. These are for trees that would be along Eastern, where a 15-gallon tree would not look probably appropriate. It would look a little small. I'll turn it over to our Public Works Director, Grisel Chavez, to give you a presentation to show you what we're looking at here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening again, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. Before you is a consideration of a grant agreement with the California Natural Resources Agency, or CNRA, for an urban greening grant program, which the city had applied for some months ago and was successful. As part of this grant, the city would partner with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps for the planting of the trees, and council would therefore have to approve that agreement as well. Through the urban greening grant, the focus is planting of trees, and so the $346,000 grant would allow the city to plant 500 trees in the residential and arterial streets in the city. We have about a vacancy of about 2,000 trees as identified by our city tree contractor. So this would fill a significant percentage of that amount of vacant tree sites. The project specifically would plant only 15-gallon size trees, which are your smaller trees that are about a year old. You know, some look very, very small and almost like a sapling, depending on the species. So there'd be the majority of the trees would be planted in the residential neighborhoods. Again, the planting would be done by the LA Conservation Corps, and the Corps would actually be responsible, all covered through the grant funding, to water the trees for about 8 to 9 month period. That's what the funding would allow for. So that would help ensure the trees are surviving and get established through the initial almost 1 year. There was funding that was submitted to allow for reimbursement of costs relating to replacing sidewalks, any damaged sidewalk hardscapes that would pose any safety concerns. There's a limited amount of money for that. And then there's also for the costs for the removal and replacement of 5 trees where trees are dead and need to be removed. That's the amount of trees the grant approved. So the total is $346,408 in grant funding, and there is no city cash match required. Moving on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So again, further breakdown, most of the cost is in the planting of the tree and the plant establishment, which is essentially the watering of the trees by the Conservation Corps for a cost about $275,000 in that category alone. The rest of the costs are for the repairs of the hardscapes, removal of the 5 trees, and then the administration costs are relating to our grant writer submitting the required reporting and the this distribution of brochures to each person or household receiving a planted tree on the proper care for the tree and the benefit of it and that type of education effort.
Marcel, can I interject too also just with the why we're using the conservation course? So they were included in the proposal to help strengthen the proposal. And so the council knows the people planning these would be conservation corps members. They're 18 to 24-year-olds. There are opportunities online at LA County Conservation Corps too. So if you know any 18 to 24-year-olds that are looking for this kind of work. But that's the reason that we're recommending the Conservation Corps in this instance.
Correct. Yeah, it's a highly encouraged, youth employment partnership. So, moving on to the next slide, just as the city manager shared there and it stated in the report, there were trees that were removed in the medians and in the sidewalks, parkway areas along Eastern Avenue. There's about 20 trees there and about some other trees on Florence Avenue, mostly on the sidewalk. Because the grant only funds for a very small 15-gallon tree, we thought it would be just an idea for council to consider funding a more substantially grown tree that could be planted in the median along Eastern Avenue to bring the immediate benefit of obviously the carbon footprint, greenhouse gas reductions that would come with a larger size tree, but the aesthetic appearance of it, some cities tend to plant a larger tree when it comes to the medians for that impact or effect. A 36-inch box tree, as you see in the PowerPoint, it's a larger tree on the left. Takes about 5 to 7 trees to get to that size. The one on the right is a 15-gallon tree. That's a strawberry arbutus tree. That's one species, by example. So again, just thought council may prefer a larger tree in the median to be replanted there on Eastern. And there would be about 17 trees to take the place of the 20 that were planted. They would be appropriately spaced and done by our tree contractor, and that cost is about $20,400 for 17 of those trees. And alternatively, if council chose not to go in that direction, we would plant the smaller 15-gallon tree that's provided for by the grant. So with that, staff is recommending the city manager execute the grant agreement with CNRA for the grant project and authorize the execution of the sponsor agreement with LA Conservation Corps for their labor and services. And again, if council deems it appropriate, the funding for the amount of $20,400 that would be coming from the general fund to budget for the 1736-inch box trees on Eastern Avenue. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And I just want to I want to tell my colleagues a little bit about this particular item. It was supposed to be in a consent calendar. However, the trees that were removed from Eastern Avenue, I had a resident call me. They were alarmed that they saw trees that looked healthy to them be removed. So then I talked to Mike and I talked to the Director of Public Works, and they explained to me the whole process. A lot of these trees are removed because they have issues, underlying issues that are not always apparent to everyone. And the reason why, we're now trying to purchase trees is because the ones that are covered by the grant, they're not big enough. And if you saw the picture there, they put them side by side on the PowerPoint presentation. And the trees that we will be purchasing, they will be, they just look more appropriate from as a replacement for the older trees that were removed. So I thought it would be wise to put this on the agenda and let you guys also, be informed as much as possible about this scenario because it is $20,000. And, I encourage you to ask any questions to our directors or the city manager. And that is all. Thank you.
I just wanted to chime in real quick. Obviously, we're all trying to reduce our carbon footprint and, stop our climate change. So I would definitely be in favor of investing into our community and making sure that we're releasing more oxygen into our atmosphere. So I would like to, if nobody else has any comments, to motion to appropriate the 20,400 from the general fund to purchase the 1736-inch box trees for the planting on Eastern Avenue.
I'd like to second that.
Okay, thank you. So,
Mayor, point of clarification, is that motion going to include the rest of
So
staff
my motion would include
recommendation?
the entire staff recommendation.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
thank you, Mark, for asking for clarification. I would like to also mention before we move on with the vote that I believe there's going to be like a preview or there's going to be a walkthrough of how these trees are evaluated. I was talking to the city manager at one point, and I like to make this available to the rest of the council if they're interested. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes, Mayor Barcenter, we'll send out a notification from the executive assistants to schedule a walkthrough. We'll show you the kinds of trees that we're going to put in and sort of what the empty wells look like currently and how they'll look afterwards.
That sounds good.
All right, thank you so much. So I will go ahead and take it to a roll call. Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Cortez,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido,
Yes.
and yes for myself, so motion carries. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 10?
Thanks again, Mayor Barcena. This item here is a discussion item that we wanted to talk to the council about. This question's come up a few times from various council members regarding the performance evaluation process that we have within the city of Bell Gardens. We have Manuel Carrillo, our Director of Administrative Services. So he does finance and HR. Our HR manager happens to be on vacation this week, so Manuel's going to take the reins here and give you a presentation to let you know what we're doing. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Mayor Barcena, Mayor Pro Tem Pulido, Council Members Flores, Cortez, and Chavez. This evening, I will be providing a brief overview of the city's general performance evaluation process. This is intended to be an informative overview of the general process and is classified as a review and file item. As part of our efforts to constantly improve, the administration department would greatly appreciate any feedback you might have or on information provided. We will set aside some time after to go over materials for questions, discussion, and any comments you might have. Oh, is it the- oh, this is not- no. There you go. Okay. The PowerPoint we have will give a general overview of the performance evaluation process for the following employee classifications: general employees, executive management, department heads, city manager, as well as part-time employees. For general employees, a performance evaluation is conducted 6 months from the initial appointment or date of hire. This is to assess the employee's performance and to determine if the employee will be released from probation and officially appointed to regular status. If the employee receives a satisfactory performance evaluation, a merit increase to the next step in the salary schedule is granted. For executive management / department heads, an evaluation is conducted on an annual basis. As with the previous classification, if the employee receives a satisfactory performance evaluation, a merit increase to the next step of the salary schedule is granted. The city manager is evaluated as outlined in their employment agreement. Evaluations are also completed on an annual basis. And for part-time employees, the evaluation is conducted at the department head's discretion. For temporary employees, hours vary, and some employees are only seasonal. Therefore, an evaluation may be conducted based on hours worked, tenure, etc. Therefore, there is no defined interval period for evaluation as you would have with a full-time employee. Now, our Human Resources Department was able to tabulate some statistics. HR was able to identify that during the course of the last 12 months, 64 step increases were processed. These either as a result of a 6-month probation evaluation or as an annual evaluation. This is done by gathering the number of PAFs or personnel action forms that were processed by HR. Annual evaluations are also completed by all departments, even when the employee is not eligible for a step increase. We were not able to gather statistics on this segment of the evaluations completed, but this is something that we could go back and gather and possibly provide at a later date, if possible.
Manuel, do you mind if I just real quick kind of add some flavor to it? I think this would help the council. I'll put Gracel on the spot for a minute here. Probably about 4 to 6 weeks ago, she had done a significant number of evaluations on part-time employees. I think those that maybe had not had one in the recent past. So, Gracel, out of the regular part, if you could provide the council, I don't know the answer exactly, with approximate regular part-time employees you have, those that are working on a regular basis that have been here for beyond 6 to 12 months, and then how many of them you're aware of have had an evaluation in the last 6 to 12 months?
No part-time employee had received an evaluation in the last 6 to 12 months.
But how many have now? I think I
How
signed
many
like
now?
15 of
Sorry.
them that you'd done.
I'm sorry, before I got here, 6 to 12 months before I got here, 0 had. So now I think we probably have had about 6 to 8 done.
Out of a total of
20,
okay.
20 total part-time. And some haven't had one in years.
And I bring this up because I think as you see the presentation, it's a pretty tight process. Obviously, for full-time employees, there's a 6-month evaluation process and then an annual one after that. Same with the my contract defines that I'm supposed to have one, and the department heads. But I think on the part-time employees side of things, there's some work for us to do. So the direction from kind of on our staff level here in my discussions with Manuel and with our HR manager is to identify those part-time employees that are here beyond just a seasonal perspective, and then determine after so many hours, which would probably be the equivalent of about 6 months worth of hours, so maybe 1,000 hours, that they should be given some kind of a formal evaluation. We don't have that currently in place, not required by any kind of an MOU or anything, but we think that makes sense for those employees that are around for a while.
And thank you. That does conclude the presentation. And if there are any questions, I'd be more than glad to answer.
Thank you for the presentation. Part of the reason why I wanted this item to come to the council was to make sure that we are being held accountable for moving our staff forward in providing the best customer service, the best performance at the job as we can. What I was hoping to see in this particular item was more or less a summary, kind of in the way that the Director of Public Works provided. I feel like she's doing a great job in the sense that she evaluated the part-time employees that she felt were necessary to evaluate. I think about half of those employees sounds like a good number considering they're part-time, right? And part-time employees, sometimes their hours are so limited that there's really no point in evaluating those specific employees. However, there might be about half of them we rely on them for everyday improvements, whether it's at one of our parks or maybe graffiti control or whatnot. And I think that she's doing a great job, but I was hoping I could get a glimpse, maybe a summary of the entire city, right? So that we could know really how far we're getting into this goal of being accountable for our employees. So I did hear Manuel say that they can come back with those numbers, right, Mike? I would like to, if possible, get a little bit more detailed report on where we're at with the rest of our departments. I feel like that would provide the council an opportunity to really see the type of the level of accountability that we're taking on from that perspective. I know that that's just one view of things, but I do think it's important. If any of my colleagues have any other questions or comments. Okay, so I guess I'd like to just make a motion to bring this back again with more details in regards to the evaluation, how it's going in our departments.
I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, second by Councilmember Chavez. I'll take it to a roll call. Chavez,
Yes.
Cortez,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido,
Yes.
and yes for myself, so motion carries. Thank you again for the presentation. City Manager, would you please announce discussion item number 10? Sorry about that. I meant to, actually, we are done, guys. Right, public participation, of course. We are now going to public participation for non-agenda items. City Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers, Mayor.
If there's no objection by the City Council, I will close public participation. We will now move to council comments, and we will start with Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you so much for that, Mayor. I'm gonna keep it sort of brief. I first off want to thank staff for last week's really push and effort in terms of getting our community vaccinated. We had the National Night Out, and that was a great event. We had also vaccines available at that event. Following that, we had our Wednesday weekly vaccine clinic at Ross Hall as well. I'm glad that we had another opportunity for our community to get vaccinated. Summer night movie, I believe it was Detective Pikachu and the Wise Guys. So, I mean, another opportunity to get vaccinated. And then finally, we had the back to school supply giveaway at Veterans Park, which was a great success. Want to give a huge thanks to our state senator, Lina Gonzalez, and our Assemblywoman, Cristina Garcia, for pushing forward and getting us some very much needed backpacks for our event. Really appreciate all the support and all the planning that went into creating such a successful event. Following that, I also do want to mention the PPE distribution that we had as well. That was, I believe, on Friday. So we had some folks from PPE Unite come out and help us out in giving out PPE equipment to our small businesses and to really anybody who needed some PPE equipment. They were giving out masks, they were giving out face shields, hand sanitizer. I was out there for a couple minutes helping out and packing boxes into owners' cars and vehicles and whatnot. So it was a great event, and I'm really glad that I got to help out. Following that, I also do want to propose something to my colleagues and to our council. And I've mentioned this a couple times to our city, to city manager, and I think legal already has been briefed. But essentially, I want to request that we look into adding an item into our agenda, similar to an invocation. I'm asking that our city look into adding a section where we commit to acknowledging Native tribes that once occupied the city of Bell Gardens. So the following tribes include the Quiche, Tongva, and the Chumash. I know city manager and legal have been briefed a little bit about this idea. And essentially, it'll fall like in the same section where invocation and pledge of allegiance is, but now would be acknowledging Native tribes that once occupied this land that we are on now, which is City of Bell Gardens. So I hope you can add this item to our agenda moving forward. And with that said, I'd like to conclude my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. Councilwoman Cortez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank our Parks and Rec staff and our director, Rosana Tanto, and also our Public Works, Veterans Police Department for the wonderful event that we hosted this past weekend for our school supply giveaway. We had an amazing turnout. Families came out, and as Councilmember Chavez reported, we had several resources for our community. So I just want to give a huge props to our staff who put this together. Lastly, I do want to wish our students a happy first day back at school, which will be on Monday, August 16. I know we won't have another council meeting, so I just want to wish everyone a happy and safe return to school. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Member Flores?
Yes, thank you. Just to add to what my colleagues already mentioned, we had an amazing backpack giveaway this Saturday, and I'm just so grateful to our Parks and Rec Director, Roseanne, to Ramon, Diana, everybody who participated in this. I know that it took a lot of efforts from multiple different parties to be able to make this successful, and it does take a village. So to everybody that participated, to Tele Collaborative, to the Latino Equality Allegiance that was here, and to all of the other community partners that came out to give back. I know that a lot of people were talking about the free haircuts, and it was something that was very touching, and everybody really, really enjoyed. So thank you, for everybody who put this together. And then I just want to invite you guys on this Saturday. There's going to be a backpack giveaway at Touchpoint Church. There are going to be vaccines available there. It's going to be in collaboration with Christina Garcia. So the collaborative, I will be there as well, and it'll be put together by some grassrooted BG alumni who just want to give back to the community. And again, to remind folks to please apply for Housing is Key. As you guys know, we have it here in Bell Gardens. We're very, very lucky. We're the only city in the entire state who actually has this program, and you guys are at a huge advantage. So please, please come on down and apply. And then I hate to sound
Councilmember Flores, can you repeat what program that was, please?
Housing is Key.
Housing is key. Okay, thank you.
And then I hate to sound redundant, but our Latino community has been disproportionately affected by COVID-19. Our fathers, our mothers, our loved ones continue to go to work and continue to be exposed. And we're looking at cases go up higher and higher every day. Please get vaccinated. Please stay safe. Please, just be careful. We're really, really lucky to be able to have as many vaccines as we have available. And when you see those vaccine clinics, if those dosages that don't get used, they have to be trashed. So if you know that there's a vaccine clinic and you know somebody who needs it, please, reach out to them and offer them a ride or whatever they may need, education, because again, we're at 40% more likely as Latino, Black, and Brown communities to be affected by COVID than the rest of the other populations. Latinos are above everybody else that are getting more affected by COVID. So please be careful and take care of your children. And I don't want to scare you guys anymore, but there will be vaccines available this Wednesday at Veterans Park again from 12 to 4. So hopefully you guys can join me out there and get vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes, I just wanted to add, as Councilmember Flores said, if you haven't gotten vaccinated, please consider doing so. If you don't have any contraindications with your health, or if your religious beliefs do allow you to get vaccinated, please consider doing so, not only for your own health, but for those around you. And if you have any questions, reach out to us, but please, please do get vaccinated. I think that's the best way that we can combat COVID-19, and we can get back to a new form of norm, and we can start, gathering safely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And I want to just echo that. I think it doesn't really get old at this point. This is the most important thing we can be stressing is get vaccinated. There are a lot of opportunities that our city is bringing to the public to get vaccinated. If you have family members, go that extra mile and talk to them. Do whatever you can to convince them that getting vaccinated is the right thing. It's hard to believe that there are many people out there still, finding excuses, still coming up with conspiracy theories. Let's get it together. This is the only way out, and we need to make sure we do everything we can to talk to those people. If you're mad at your brother or sister or cousin or whatever it is, this is the time to put that aside and make sure that you do your best to get them vaccinated, because that's the only way we're going to be able to do it. So thank you to the council for stressing that point. It's extremely important. And I do want to thank Roseanne and her department, as well as all the other departments that helped put the backpack giveaway event, the back to school event. I was out there and it was just amazing to see so many people be served in such a professional manner. The flow of our guests was perfect. The booths that were there were organized. There was a everything was great. Like I can't think of anything negative about it. So thank you, Roseanne, for coordinating that event. That was a City of Bell Gardens event. And thank you to all the partners that brought all of those wonderful things to share with our community. That was extremely important and we really appreciate it. So again, everyone have a great week and please get everyone vaccinated. Do whatever you can to get that done. All right, if there's no objection by the city council, I will now adjourn the city council meeting at 7:06 p.m. Thank you.